What's up, everybody? It is Matt from Electric All Wheel. Today we have the Rad Power Bikes City 5 Plus Step Through. This is the black or charcoal color. We are going to be adding a second battery. We plan on adding a second 48-volt battery, 15 amp hours, and we are going to perform an external install of the Electric All Wheel kit. We'll likely run to the rear rack. We're going to show you the new battery bag that we have with a little port that actually opens up so you can plug into the battery inside and then it closes up for you so it doesn't have to slip through the main opening of the bag, and it looks a lot more official. I'm very excited. Bike Case just came out with it, so we have one to share. I will show you briefly a demonstration on how to wrap one over the top of this and utilize this space, but for today we're going to do the install, which is the meat on how to get the connectors inside and connected up to the controller and the battery plate of the Rad Power Bikes RadCity 5 Plus. I'm hoping for an easy install, but it's a little tight down here in the bottom, and that is where the controller is, and it is attached to the frame, so we're going to have to be mindful of that. But we are going to move forward with this install. It'll be external with the balancer in the bag. We'll run the cables out, and then we'll run extensions to the bag, balancer inside, and then hook it to the battery, and that will be it. Stick around to the end of the video, and we will provide you some range calculations utilizing the Mica toll constant. One thing that I do want to advise, as always, if you're going to be adding the range for this bike or any dual battery bike and riding that, you'll definitely want to think about changing out your seat post to a Bike Case suspension seat post. I like to use the Bike Case with the Cloud9 combo. Just take my word for it. You'll be thankful that you did that. We will leave a link for this bike, a compatible Bike Case seat post, in the links in the description below, and we appreciate you utilizing those links to help keep this channel going. I'm not sure if it'll take a shim or if it's a straight 27.2. Either way, I will leave it in the description along with all the components and any other related components we use for this bike on this installation. If you haven't already, give us a like and subscribe on YouTube. It is our primary, and if you're in the area, check out e-bikes of Tampa Bay, Florida. Get in that Facebook group, make an event, and go for a ride with your friends. Let's get to it. First thing we're going to do is take out this battery. Our next move will be to get this plate out. There's two screws. This one right here, and then there's one that faces into the frame on the back side. And it's right there. All right, this is a Torx screw. It is a T10, it looks like. It's very small, be careful. The one in the back is a T9. And what you're going to run into with the plate is there's two screws here, so you just need to make sure to lift it out. I'm going to try and grab hold of, perfect, I got a hold of the pins, and now I'm just going to give it a little gentle persuasion. There we go. And there it is. This is the connector for it. I can just go ahead and undo that, and this one actually goes to the controller. I will need to connect to this, which is off the plate, and then to the controller, and then feed them out. Now my pursuit will be to remove this screw, this screw, this screw, and then there's one right here to remove this plate and get at the wiring underneath. It's actually to remove the plate so that we can get to the controller, which is down here. We got this plate off. So these two will loosen the controller from the housing compartment, and then I would be able to move it in or out. I'm not planning to move it in or out. What I really need is to get into the wiring here. So I'm just going to pull that loose. Now this is going to be tricky because of the controller and the way it sits. So try not to remove the controller, but rather shift it to the side when you try and push your cables through. Now what I'm doing is just freeing the cables from the zip ties so that I can get slack. And then move my controller around. So I'm actually just going to unplug this motor cable, this bad boy. And so now I have a lot of space that I'm able to like pull the controller up in this direction. That being the controller there. Showed you the motor cable. Now I'm going to get out on this backside to this harness cable right here. I don't need the pads, I don't think. I may. What I'm looking at is these two main cables right here that actually go into the housing, and I'm detaching them. So one is the motor cable. I'm going to follow the other one back, and it's right here on this housing. So I'm going to undo that zip tie as well. And there it is. The result of all this is to be able to easily shift this controller up and down, and that's my goal. I'm just trying to create room for myself so I can get the cables in there. And as you can see, I've got my hands on this thing. I don't really want to pull it out because I just don't want to go through the headache of seating it back into the bottom of the bike. But there it is. So maybe I will go ahead and pull it out, but I'm going to leave the cabling in there and then run my fish. So I'll do this, and then I'll feed two of the adapters up through here and then make the connections and close this thing up. Now I'm going to take my Z-style connectors, both the female and male ends of the connectors, which is actually female for the pins and male for the pins, and I'm going to feed them. Actually, I'm going to feed them through this grommet and see if we can get it to go all the way up. Now, I'm not going to be able to show you the other side for a moment, but I can feel that one. Here it is in my hand, right there. So that's this cable. It's beautiful. I'm actually going to go ahead and plug that thing right into the controller now so it doesn't come back out. And then in goes the other one. And there it is. I don't want it coming loose. So we're going to add some electrical tape insurance. Now I have to be conscious of pulling too hard, so you need to as well. And then I'm also considering space too. The very first thing I have to consider is that I've got to get my controller reseated on the bottom of the frame, very much in line with what we saw when we took it out. Use this hex wrench to help me align the screw holes and then get this one hopefully started. I'm going to just start this one, see if it'll take. Yes. Yes, it will. Perfect. We have now reattached the controller to the frame. We made sure that these wires were over the top so the bottom of the controller could get to the bottom of the frame, and then rolled it right back in the way it was. Now I need to plug my battery plate into the other cable. Line up my arrows. Make sure that it's nice and snug. And then I'm going to make sure that this doesn't come loose either. There we go. That's in there. Now I'm just going to replace the two screws. This back one was a T9. And this one up front, the silver one, was a T10. Right, I think we are in. What I'm going to do now is go ahead and plug these together to close the circuit, and then put the battery back in to make sure this thing is still working. I got to plug in all my other connections as well. Yeah. Perfect. That means that we've closed the loop with our extensions and we've got a good connection, so we're good to go. We'll wrap up the rest of this and then we'll get the mount onto the rear rack. Doing this with this shroud cover is a lot of finesse. I'm going to start by hand feeding the screws, making sure that the shroud is over the cables, and I've got no issues there. So now I proved that these two cables attached were working. I'm going to unplug them, and then I'm going to feed them up right through here with these cables. And then when I get them there, I'm actually going to use one zip tie to bring it all together. Make sure all my slack is out. Now I'm going to take my extensions and go ahead and plug them in. These are the XT60 14AWG extensions. Can't really mess it up. Just plug in whatever end works. I'm going to take these two ends, and they're going to come up through the upper end of this. Now we see that they'll be at the rear rack right here. From here, I told you guys I would show you a secondary placement with these straps. These are bottle cage strap adapters. Please check out some of the other videos in our catalog so you can see how I'm doing this. M5 screws on the plate. There's one screw in the bottom holding it, two up here. And then what I would do is for a quick release, it would just be right here. So then I would take these two straps. These are the e-bike straps, and I would use them as the main driver for support. So once these are on here, kind of holding it down, this would be the final wrap. It's two straps put together. Go ahead and get that thing nice and tight. And then I would retighten these two straps, and then we're good to go. This is very secure. That is not coming off of there. So then I would just have my cable management. So at this point, I might use a cell phone bag right here and just put my balancer with these cables inside at this point and make the connection, and it's just going to look great. So I would take this bike case, Beetle case cell phone bag, and the mounting would be here. I'd run, so there's a strap like this, I'd loop this, and then wrap these two straps right here, 1, 2, around the seat post, and then I would put my balancer inside. It does have dual zippers, so you'd be able to slip it in off to the side, and then close it and open it. Balancer would be in here, and then I'd run all of the cabling in here, and then that would be it. So it would sit like so. So this is the new bike case battery storage rack bag, and it's got these Velcro straps right here on the sides, this, and then there's opposing straps here. It's got a handle, and then it opens up pretty nice, and then it's got these little port doors for all the cabling. That's what I like most. So we'll go in here. We're going to make sure there's spacing off so we can avoid conflict with the seat. Now, even with these connections on here, this battery still fits in just fine. I'm actually going to turn it this way so the connection is down towards here. I'm going to make sure that my mount is locked in. I'm just pull the keys and set them inside. Now here's this. For this aspect, now I'm going to take my two cable ends that I know if I connected them, the bike would work, open this port door, and just bring them inside, and you can see them right here. Perfect. From this point, I'm going to take my 40 amp balancer. There we go. And I'm just going to plug these two ends in a way that works. You can't mess this up, so just plug them in. And then the last port that's on your balancer is for the second battery. Go ahead and plug that in too. Now I'm just going to rest them inside. I'll go ahead and close this bag up. Bring together my handle. Voila. So one thing I need to make sure of real quick is that the battery is on. There we go. So what I can do right now is just go ahead and unplug one of these battery connections and see if the bike still works. The one I unplugged is for the factory battery. Perfect. And you know that the factory battery is loose, and there it is still running, so that's the rear battery. Now I'm going to take this, plug it back in, which I know to be the factory battery connection. And then this one, which has got that hint of yellow that I've markered over, I'm unplugging that. That is the rear rack battery. And what you'll see is it's still working. So we have a good connection. Well, there you have it. We have successfully added a second 48 volt, 15 amp hour battery to this Rad Power Bikes RadCity 5 Plus step through e-bike. Not the easiest of installs, but not the hardest either. You just got to take your time and be patient with this one. Again, I do recommend, if you are going to be riding these miles with the extended range that you're going to get with your dual battery, check out a bike case suspension seat post paired with a Cloud9 seat. It is a premium combination: suspension Cloud9 seat with bike case bump stop suspension seat post for the Rad Power Bikes RadCity 5 Plus step through. We will leave a link in the description below with the seat post diameter, so you can check that out. You can thank me later for that recommendation. I know a lot of you stuck around for the range calculation, so let's get to it. The original battery is 14 amp hours plus 15 amp hours of the second battery in the bike case bag, and you get 29. We're going to multiply that by 48, and you get 1,392 watt hours. Now we're going to divide that by 25, and 25 is the Mica toll constant, which says it's 25 watt hours per mile ridden at 20 miles an hour, throttle only, and you get 55.68 miles at 20 miles an hour on your Rad Power Bikes RadCity 5 step through. That is a pretty big clip. We'll go ahead and do that math one more time for assurance. 29.48 divided by 25, 55.68. That is an awesome amount of range for your Rad Power Bikes RadCity 5 step through. Look, I forgot to cut this zip tie. One last thing. We will leave links for all of the products in the description below. Make sure you clean up and tidy up all your stuff. This is a nice, tidy install because of the ease with which everything goes in. It seems to be tailor-made for these because your wiring runs right through smaller openings within the frame, and then it holds it in, which I really like. And then with it in the bag and inside this door, it's a good setup. So we are appreciative of that. And you can just pull this and take your second battery and then whatever goodies you have in there with you. Check out all of our other accessories. We do have the Datex DX2. There are a lot of people out there that are fans of the Datex and the Rad community. Now with the Datex, you could actually add our USB adapter into the second output port for the Datex DX2, and then have a secondary set of USB adapters that are running off of your bike's battery system, and that would be your dual battery system, and that will work with a single or double battery as long as the DX2 is a part of it. And simply speaking, it would just be set up inside here. So you might consider that with our USB adapter. If you haven't already, give us a like and subscribe on YouTube. It is our primary, and if you're in the area, check out e-bikes of Tampa Bay, Florida. Get in that Facebook group, make an event, go for a ride with your friends. We'll talk to you next time.